Let's talk the inghams. Gonna try and get through this vlog. I've been resting my voice a little bit in this video, rather. I have been resting my voice a little bit today. I think I had a little bit of a cold at the moment. But yeah, I'll try and get through this video the best I can. Just like I did earlier on. So, obviously wanted to talk about the inghams. So, you may have seen that they've been getting hauled out recently. So, in the vlog the other night, Sarah basically admitted on camera that she had left her 3-year-old daughter, left their 3-year-old daughter Mila and 4-year-old son Jace unsupervised in the bath. Now, obviously, they were trying to justify it, saying, well, it's not a big deal, wasn't an issue if they were only next door and they were watching on the baby monitor. Now, there is no justification for something that is basically blatant child endangerment and child neglect if ever I saw it. It's what they do, at the end of the day, regardless of what anybody says, leaving a 3-year-old and 3-year-old child, a 3-year-old girl and a 5-year-old boy unsupervised in the bath is, dangerous. It's probably irresponsible. It's a disaster waiting to happen. Something could very easily go wrong. And it's just not a risk that's worth taking. Now, obviously they were saying, oh, well, the water's not that deep. Well, the water doesn't have to be that deep for a child to drown. A child, especially a child of Mila's age, can very easily drown in shallow water. It's not completely impossible for that to happen. It can happen, and in fact, it has been known to happen. It has been known that young children, especially kids Mila's age, have died for drowning in even shallow water. So, it's not a risk worth taking. I can't believe that Sarah actually had the audacity to basically admit that on camera. They can't, it's like they can't admit something like that on camera and then not expect to get hauled out for it. Of course, if she, the fact that she's admitted on her that on camera, of course she was gonna, they were gonna get, a lot of backlash for it and they were gonna get ripped apart for it, and people were, going to see, were going to say that it was a dangerous and irresponsible thing to do, as it was. Obviously, if you're a deranged, feeble-minded iFan, then of course you will defend them and say they hadn't done anything wrong. But nobody should be defending them over something that was basically incredibly dangerous and irresponsible. My question on it is, should a 3-year-old girl really be sharing a bath with a 5-year-old boy anyway? Or, should they be bathing on their own? I mean, I don't know. I think kids are allowed to share a bath up to a certain age. I think they're, so that's as far as I'm aware of anyway. But I think at the end of the day, it's just, I mean, no sensible parent would leave 2 children that's 2 small children that young in a bath on their own unsupervised, which is basically what Sarah did, and she's admitted that on camera. There's no, she can't justify that, It's like, the fact, this is what really, I can't believe, is the fact that she actually had the audacity to admit that on camera. Like, you wouldn't think that Sarah would actually admit to something like that on camera, but the fact that she's admitted it on camera is unbelievable. It's like, how can people actually defend them over something like this, something that's so irresponsible? Because for a fact that no normal parent would leave 2 children that young in a bath on their own unsupervised. No normal parent would think that was a safe thing to do. But if you're Chris and Sarah Ingham, who are two brainless, clueless, absolute flipping idiots, then yeah, of course you're gonna think that it's a safe thing to do. Of course you're gonna think that it's a responsible thing to do, leaving 2 kids that young in a bath on their own unsupervised. You don't have to be a flipping parenting expert to know that that's not safe and to know that that's not a responsible thing to do. You don't have to be a parenting expert to know that something could go wrong. And that, and that it's not, there are so many things that could go wrong in that instance. As we've said many, many times, we've seen them do a lot of irresponsible things. And the same thing has been said so many times as, with regards to them. It only takes a few seconds for something to go wrong. And that is the truth. It does only take a few seconds for something to go wrong. And I think, they need to think about what they're doing. They think, and the fact that, they obviously didn't expect to get called out for that, but it's hard to admit something like that on camera and then not expect to get called out for it. It don't work like that, Of course, they were going to get ripped apart for it, because that's what, as people were going to look at that, people weren't going to look at that and think, there's nothing wrong with that. People always going to look at that and think, well, that was a completely irresponsible thing to do. Because, regardless of what anybody says about it, it was a very dangerous and irresponsible thing to do. And there's no denying. There's no denying that even a 3-year-old and 5-year-old child, even a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old child, unsupervised in the bath, is not in the slightest bit safe. It's just a recipe it's just a recipe for disaster. I would go as far as to say they've been asking for it to happen. And I think, they need to, they just need to be careful. That's all, I think that's all anyone has ever said, is they just need to be careful and with what they're doing. Like, they can't believe in, a child, they can't believe in a kid. They can't believe in children that young in a bath on their own unsupervised. And they've got the cheat to try and justify that, saying, oh, well, we were only next door and we were watching them on the whole time on the baby monitor. That doesn't justify it. That doesn't that doesn't change anything. That doesn't mean that doesn't change the fact that two small children were left in a bath on their own unsupervised. Because at the end of the day, the fact that they were next door, so they were not in the same room as the two little ones, therefore they were left unsupervised. It doesn't matter, them being, they were next door watching them on the baby monitor. So they weren't in the same room as them, therefore the two children were left on their own. They were left, they were left on their own. They were left on their own unsupervised. And there was no denying. Obviously, Chris and Sarah, are always going to try and justify something like this. This is what, as I've said before, this is one of the things that has always kind of grinds my wheel. Is that people always try to justify things that there is no justification for. And this is one of those things that there is no justification for. Leaving a 3-year-old and 5-year-old child unsupervised in the bath on their own unsupervised, there is no justification for that. And if Sarah and Chris think that there is, then there's something wrong with them. Because there is no justification for that whatsoever. There are no excuses for that. There are no excuses for the fact that what they did was so, for doing something that was so irresponsible. And doing something that was downright bloody dangerous. For the most part. I mean, judging by the fact that Jace has been known to be quite aggressive, I probably wouldn't trust him on his own in the bath with me, because he could end up, because there was, that's always a recipe for disaster. It's just madness, absolute madness. And I don't know what else to say. I honestly don't. Um, I suppose I'm kind of lost for words when it comes to this. I really am. As I said, they can't expect not to get pulled out, but they can't expect to admit that on camera, and then not even, not expect to get pulled out for that. This is the thing. This is the big thing about it. If she's admitted it on camera, I'm not. The woman has just admitted, but she's basically just admitted to to blatant child endangerment. That's what she's just admitted to. She's just admitted to endangering her two kids. She's just admitted that she's just basically admitted that she's put their safety at risk by leaving them on their own in the bath unsupervised. Not a good idea. Not something that any parent should be doing, and it's not something that any responsible parent would do. Let's face it. Would a responsible parent leave two children that? I don't think it was a good idea to leave two children that young in a bath unsupervised on their own. No, they would not. But of course, Professor Sarah would think that was a sensible thing to do because they're absolutely brainless and absolutely clueless. And I think that stands to reason. I honestly don't know what else to say. I am honestly lost for words. The thing is, with people like Professor Sarah is it's like when you think they don't get any more stupid, they somehow find a way. They get more and more stupid and more irresponsible as time goes on. It's like they're literally begging for something to go wrong most of the time. It's just unbelievable. As I said, there was no excuses, there was no justification for leaving a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old in the bath unsupervised on their own. There will never be any justification for that. There will never be any excuses for that. It's just bloody stupidity. Is what it is. It's stupidity and it's bloody irresponsible. It's them being bloody irresponsible. And it makes me laugh to think she actually had the audacity to admit it on camera. She actually admitted to blatant child endangerment and what I would go as far as to say is child neglect. And I would go as far as to say it's child neglect. Come on. Seriously, let's be real. I don't know what else to say. I hope you've enjoyed this little video. I thought I would give my 2 cents worth on that situation and what my thoughts are on it. At the end of the day, when I see things like this, it's like hard not comment on it, like hard not talk about it because, it's like you have to talk about it, you have to comment on it. You have to call them out for it because it's just so irresponsible. They cannot expect not to get called out when they're basically admitting things like that on camera. When they're admitting things like that on camera, they are going to be ripped apart. And they have been kind of ripped apart, for this. Sarah's admitted it on camera. That's what people have been talking about. The fact that she's actually admitted it on camera. That she left them on their own in the bath unsupervised. How much more stupid can they get? How much more bloody irresponsible can they be? Surely no one in their right mind would think that what they did was sensible. And would think that what they did was a good thing to do, it was a safe thing to do. Because it bloody wasn't. It wasn't a safe thing to do at all. And it's not something that I don't think any responsible parent would do. Just saying. So I hope you enjoyed this video anyway, and I'll see you for another one soon. Adios. Bye bye.